And welcome to the Quantum Leap Business Show. I hope you've enjoyed some of the speakers and the networking opportunities that we've got available today. And let's not forget the 200 plus stand holders keen to engage with you as prospective customers. Also remembering they accept BBX pounds. If we've not spoken before, let me introduce myself. My name's Matthew Harding and I'm one of the founders of BBX here in the UK. My background is 30 years in sales and marketing, with about 20 of those experienced in using complementary currencies and reciprocal trading to increase the growth in a business and the financials. In this short video, I'd like to share some of my top tips. I'm going to share 3 tips with you today to assist in the growth of your business in 2021 and beyond. So grab a pen and paper, press pause if you need to, because I'll be giving away some key tasks to start working on over the next couple of weeks, over the festive period, so that you can bounce into 2021 with a spring in your step. So tip number 1, this is undoubtedly my favorite tip, and that's creating a self-fulfilling marketing fund. Now, a recent report by Deloitte showed that successful companies allocated 11% of their turnover to a marketing budget. So let's just think about that for a moment. So if your turnover was £300,000, that would mean that you're spending £33,000 on marketing to maintain that level of business. Now, over the years, I've probably dealt with maybe £5,000 to £6,000 worth of small businesses. And I've found that the most common reason, or one of the most common reasons for business failure at that level, is the lack of investment in sales and marketing, which in turn leads to a stagnating or declining sales line, which leads to eventual failure. Now, you're in a fortunate position. You've got a BBX account, and using that BBX account as leverage means that you can create a 100% self-fulfilling marketing budget. Now, that means that for every pound invested into sales and marketing, if it's BBX, is matched by a pound's worth of extra business to fund it. So let's examine that for a moment. And for an illustration, we'll just use this glass, and we'll assume that this glass is an infrastructure of the business. So the glass itself could be the hotel with 30 rooms, or a garage with 3 ramps, or a chauffeur company with 2 cars, or a beautician's salon with 5 chairs. Okay, so that's the amount of infrastructure. And the liquid is the amount of turnover that that business has had. Okay, so it can't turn over more than the infrastructure can handle, otherwise you'll be turning businesses away. And most businesses are like this, and that means that they're only using between 40 and 50% of their maximum infrastructure. Okay, so the gap there, the amount of the glass that isn't full, is what we would know and you'd know as spare capacity. And that's basically a potential reservoir of extra revenue that your business could tap into if they start to harness it. Now, back to the theme of creating a self-fulfilling marketing fund. This is obviously the amount of business that you want to do so that you max out the business turnover over your fixed infrastructure cost, which is maxing your profitability. Now, with leveraged mentality, what you would do is fill up some of this spare capacity with BBX customers. So that taps into that reservoir of potential. So if you just did 10% of that, and that could be your marketing fund, you invest all of that into marketing, which in turn brings in the cash business to fill up the rest of it. Okay, so by tapping into your spare capacity and create a marketing fund out of something that otherwise didn't exist, propelling your marketing forward, making sure that you hit the numbers that a huge management company like Deloitte have published, 11% of your turnover. If you turn that into a marketing budget, it gives you a competitive edge by luring customers away from your competitors, breeding more word of mouth referrals, and increases the profile of your footprint and your business. all cash free because you're funding it with otherwise empty and unused spare capacity. So if this if it seems to resonate to you, if you're not currently spending 11% of your turnover on marketing, there's a couple of takeaway tasks on this point. First of all, calculate what 11% of your turnover would be in your business, and then work out if this is more or less than your current marketing spend. For the most of the people I speak to, my guess that it would be substantially more than what you're currently spending. So there will be a gap of what you need to fill. Task number 2 is to list all of the marketing that you've done before. What worked, what didn't work and why, and what would you want to do more of if it was fully funded, if it was a cost neutral exercise. Once you've done that, get onto your account manager as soon as you've created that, and we'll start putting together that marketing profile for you. Okay. Tip number 2, and this is something that I started using back in the 90s with my old business, and that's using leverage to win cash contracts. So winning cash contracts without discounting. Now, this might resonate with you if you've got competitors who are chasing the same contracts as you. So if you're in a competitive marketplace, and if you're sometimes under price pressure, or you find it hard to create a USP, a unique selling proposition, then this would resonate. Now, my experience over the past 30 years is that most sales processes lean on discounting to create action instead of creating more value or a unique proposition. If I just explain what I mean there. So if you're selling something for £1,000 and you've got competition in the marketplace, what I usually find is that the sales processes, the sales teams are looking to squeeze that £1,000 sale price down to 900 or 800 or 700, and they're leaning on discounting mechanisms too much instead of looking to shore up your proposition with extra value or a unique proposition to hold in the margin. Okay, so let me ask you something. If you could lower the price of your proposition without decreasing your profit, would it have a positive effect when negotiating? So if you sell goods and services for £1,000, if you could lower the real terms price for your customer without decreasing the amount of profit that you've got in that product, will it have a positive effect? My guess is that it would, and let me explain how you can achieve that. Now, by using BBX as a clearinghouse, this is exactly what you can do. By using us, it essentially involves you incorporating an exchange of goods in a tight negotiating process instead of lowering the price. So you create a leveraged situation instead of a lower margin situation. To illustrate this, we'll assume that we're dealing with a contract cleaner who wants to win business to carry out the ongoing cleaning and washroom services of a health club. In fact, this is a real-time scenario. I did this a number of years ago successfully with a major health chain and one of my contract cleaners at the time. So let's assume that the tender price for the work is £60,000 per annum, and there are multiple companies chasing for the tender. As a contract cleaner, you might have tight margins. Therefore, apart from you, there's no tangible, unique selling proposition. All of the other contract cleaners are contract cleaners, okay? The health clubs will assume sells memberships at £500 per year, just to keep our maths simple. And they're also in a competitive marketplace in that they're not the only gymnasium around, and they're looking for customers the same as you're looking for customers. So you've already got some common ground there, and this would fit most business situations. Now, what you could do in order to create a unique selling proposition and win the business without discounting or without eroding margins is you can accept 20 gym memberships as part payment of the services of your tender. Now, this creates 4 key benefits. The first thing is that by doing something different and accepting their stock in trade, which is their gym memberships, as part payment against your tender, it gives you a unique selling proposition that your competitors aren't giving. Now, that would give you at least some airtime, and it would stand you out from the normal grey crowd. The second thing is that the health club, if they work their numbers, are now saving £10,000 in cash on the contract, as their 20 gym memberships don't have a direct cost to them. It's their spare capacity. And in fact, if this is positioned correctly, they could see that by supplying 20 gym memberships as part of the contract price, it actually wins them more business through word of mouth. So it actually creates more business for them. Now, the third benefit is that you've now won the contract without discounting. You haven't lowered your price. Therefore, all of the ongoing work that you might do with that health club is at your normal rates. So you've preserved the profit within the current job and future profits. And if that's a 10-year relationship, that could be a substantial saving. Now, the fourth benefit is that you now use us at BBX as the clearinghouse. You sell your gym memberships via the BBX community, either using our marketplace or your account manager, in exchange for BBX pounds, which is a flexible form of payment, as you know, a flexible currency, that you can then spend on the things that you need for your business and yourself. You might use a couple of the gym memberships yourself, but if you don't, you can clear them through us. So there we go. So that's winning cash contracts. And I've used that for smaller denominations and larger denominations across most industry sectors. There's a couple of takeaway tasks here, if that's relevant to you. The first thing, using your pen and paper, is review your 2020 sales pipeline, so your sales pipeline for this year, and identify which tenders or customers were lost on a price issue. These should be and could be revisited immediately. Secondly is to brief your sales teams, and if you would like some input from me or any of my colleagues, we can set up a call and brief your sales teams along with your input. Brief your sales teams on how to use this method instead of discounting. I remember one of my old companies back in the early 90s, we used this methodology, and I wasn't involved with the complementary currency industry at the time. We used this methodology as a core method of negotiation instead of discounting. So we always preserved our profitability at all costs. So that's the second tip. And now on for my third tip and my last tip of the day, and that's achieving the impossible with positive action and a can-do mindset. Now, for some of you, this could be the most valuable tip, and that is to achieve the impossible via BBX. And it requires you to dream a little. As you already know, the BBX community is a fluid ecosystem. And I've witnessed some fantastic opportunities created when all of the tools of that ecosystem are implemented to their fullest. Now, this is the dreamy bit. I'd like you to imagine for one moment that when the clock strikes midnight on the 31st of December, your wallet becomes bottomless and you had an endless reservoir of funding at your fingertips. What would you want to purchase? Write that list. Start to dream. Your wallet has now become bottomless. You've got an endless reservoir of funding. What would you like to purchase? Write that list. Let your mind go. Dream big. You see, if you use the BBX tools to their full, this really is what you've got at your disposal via your purchase request facility. Let me explain. We've got a team of purchasing managers around the country. We've got the biggest team that we've got is out of the Romford office. We've got a team of purchasing managers who will literally knock any door and approach any business on your behalf with a view of sourcing the goods and services you want and pay with BBX pounds. So it's like a team of purchasing agents that you can tap into whenever you want to. All that's needed is your engagement, a full brief, and an open mind. Simply go to the purchase request link on our website. You'll find that under the client area, and put in all of your purchase requirements along with preferred suppliers and quotes that will then be passed out to one of our purchasing managers, who will put in the heavy lifting to get the result. They're tasked with going out to schedule meetings with potential suitors, and we have to be mindful that they're in our zone, which would generally be an independently owned business up to about a 5 million turnover with competition. That would generally be the criteria. Some memorable successes that I've had with this include the sourcing of a racing car from a very large company up in Leeds. That was a £35,000 racing car. A swimming pool. I've got a client that managed to pay all of their office rent, and we lined up a £40,000 outdoor advertising campaign. Not forgetting that many other businesses are also sitting there with spare capacity and with the desire to fill it up. So all we have to do is dream big, work together, and make things happen. So if you'd like to dream big and make things happen in 2021, there's 4 takeaway tasks on this. The first is to write a full list of the items that you'd like to purchase if money was no issue. Personally, I've never had a problem doing that. You might have to get a few pieces of paper and a couple of backup pens. Second task is to refine that list based on whether the item can be purchased from an independently owned company, as this is our target client. So if you think that, is it an independently owned company with a turnover of up to about 5, maybe 10 million, and with competition? If it fits that brief, then that would be a target purchase request that we could have a high level of success on. Add to that any quotes that you've already had, or previous invoices if you're talking about a current ongoing supply, and then put them through the purchase request link on our website for immediate action, and you'll get called probably by your account manager, but definitely by the purchasing manager. Okay. Now, that concludes the session. Have a great day. There's lots to do. Don't forget, this is a 24-hour show. So this is going to go on to into the night here in the UK, and then zip over into America, and then finish up in Australia. We're going to have some bags under our eyes tomorrow. But this year has not been a great year for many. 2021 can be a fantastic year for everybody that uses all of the tools at their disposal. And I look forward to having you with us on that.
Thank you very